My name is Lorraine Manalini.
Pleasure to meet you.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn at the Coney Island Hospital.
Oh, wow. Okay. And, young man, may I ask you for your name?
Sure. Her son, John Manalini, born in 1949, May 9th, 1949,
God bless.
lived in Brooklyn for 4 years, and then my family moved out to Lake Ronkonkoma.
In 1953.
About a mile from the lake itself. And as my mom said a little while ago, it was a vacation area. The lake was known as a great vacation area at that time. People would migrate there in the summer to get away from the heat of the city, the metropolitan area. And they had classy hotels set up along the shoreline of the lake at the time. And my family came out and then decided to move out here.
Yeah, but-
53, right? 53?
Yeah, well, I moved out here in 53 only because I did live in the on the Lower East Side in New York
Oh, okay.
for a couple of years. And as time went on, the area started to change. First of all, my husband was a retired military man,
Okay.
Navy man, chief petty officer.
It's a real branch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he served in World War II.
Oh, yeah, right.
on
Went
the
right
Pacific
through.
Front.
Yep. And then he decided to change. When I lived on the Lower East Side, John was a baby, and my daughter was a couple of years old. And my husband said to me, "This is no place to raise children." So we came out here in 1953 in Wisconsin. We bought a home, and we loved it. It was all farmland at the time. And the kids grew up out here. As a matter of fact, John retired from principal of the school, middle school. My daughter graduated from college and taught English. She is also retarded. My youngest retired. My youngest son, he went to college for 2 years and said to me, "Mom, it's not for me." I says, "It's okay." But thank goodness he's doing very well on his own. Has his own little business, does very well. I have 3 great granddaughters. I am a great grandmother.
God bless.
I have a 4-year-old beautiful granddaughter, great granddaughter, and I am now the grandmother, the great grandmother.
2 6-week-old babies, Charlotte and Jackson.
Yep. And I'm now 95 years old. Where did my years go to?
Congrats. And happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. I love it out here now. You know,
Yep.
I loved it more then, but it's still, I don't know, too congested today.
Oh.
Much too congested. Then it was all farmland. You went to farms for your eggs, for your chickens, for everything else. Not anymore.
And as a little kid, there was a farm stand where 347 crosses over Jericho by Smith Haven Mall. And this farm stand, they had chickens running around. And we'd go there as a little kid. And we'd stand, walk in. There was kind of a dirt floor, a countertop. And the farmer would be standing there. My mom would walk in. And the farmer would say, "Okay, which chicken do you want?"
And
the
I'd
chickens
pick
were
my
running
own.
wild in the back. She'd
You just pick one?
point to one, and his son would run out, tackle the chicken, bring the chicken up, and this part gets a little gory, but lop its head off.
Of course.
And then they had, in those days, they had a barrel with fingers on it, and he would just take the chicken and bounce it on the barrel, and that would defeather it. And after the chicken was defeathered, he'd lay it up on the counter, and he'd look at her and say, "Okay, Mrs. Manalini, how do you want this cut up?" And normally she said quartered. He would just take it, quarter it, put it in a bag.
And that would be it.
Take it home.
Yeah, I was married many years. My husband passed away 38 years ago. He was
Yeah.
a heavy smoker, lung cancer.
And back then it was very common.
Yeah.
Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
I smoked too for
everybody smoked.
56 years. Who do you think started me on smoking? A military man, a military doctor, believe it or not. Years ago they didn't realize the damage that smoking can do, you know,
Yeah.
but it did. I have COPD, I have lung cancer, all from smoking. I smoked for 56 years. Does a lot of damage.
Oh, what a great constitution.
That's
She
true.
smoked, never exercised a day in her life, has dessert every night,
Mm.
but growing up, she ate vegetables.
Mm.
She ate
Balance.
good vegetables, more vegetables and fruit and anything else.
Yep.
Amen. And the free range chicken.
Yeah,
Right? Not all that frozen processed stuff that
Right,
we're-
right. Stayed away from the
Yeah,
processed
right?
stuff
All that
until
we're into.
later in her life.
Yep. God's been very good to
Yeah.
me.
Amen.
Very, very good.
Yep.
I thank God I'm alive.
Yeah.
95, but where'd my years go to? I don't know.
To-
They flew by.
Well, we all know the
Oh, I
blink,
have
blink of
3
an eye.
wonderful
The blink
children.
of an eye.
I couldn't ask for better. I have a lovely daughter, very good girl, 2 beautiful sons. Never gave me a day of problem. Never.
That's beautiful.
Well, she says that now because the camera's on.
No, really. 3 great kids. Couldn't ask for better.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
Yep.
That's beautiful. You know what? Can we ask you for a story from? Can we ask you for one of your famous stories?
My favorite story?
A famous one, or one that you recollect.
Yeah.
Which one, John?
Well, you
You
can
know,
talk about your father.
Oh, I had a
who
wonderful
had-
father.
He had at the time
Yeah.
7, was it?
No, we were 8 children.
No, but I mean 7 businesses in New York City.
Yeah, he had his own bar and grill.
He had 7 of them before the collapse in the 1930s,
Wow.
Yeah.
Depression.
the Great
Yeah.
Depression.
Wow.
He and my mom were born in New York, Mulberry Street.
Oh, I used to work down there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Great mom and dad. Never did he raise his voice to us.
Mm.
I came from a family of 8. I was the second oldest.
Mm.
Yep. Great mom, hard worker, to raise 8 kids, right?
That's a tall order.
Then when the
Amazing.
what do you call it came, John?
The Great Depression.
What?
Is that what you're talking about? The Great Depression?
The Great Depression, my dad lost his business. But before that, we owned a home on East 4th Street in Brooklyn between Avenue X and W.
Oh.
Then the Depression came and my dad lost everything. And they rented an apartment also in Brooklyn. And we loved it. All 8 of us, we loved it. And that was it.
Yep.
Then when I married, I was married how many years?
39 years.
They know better than I do, the kids.
Well, my dad died very young. He was 62.
Never
just-
lived
just-
to see his
Just turning
63rd
63.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was I saying, John?
Not dad.
Yeah.
He
Great
was- yeah,
man.
yeah.
Great husband. Good father.
He's part of that what we call the Great Generation, all serving in World War II.
Right.
You had the Western Front in Europe, and you had the people on the Pacific Front. He was assigned to the Pacific,
Okay.
and he was actually on the Enterprise. He was a gunner. In those days, the mechanic on the bombers, you couldn't just be a mechanic. So they put you in the turret, and you weren't in charge of the gun.
You would actually
One of the
fire
guns,
too.
right?
Yeah.
And his plane was shot down,
Yep.
but he survived that. But he has, and like most of those veterans back then, I give them a lot of credit. They, I guess, the horrors of war, they didn't talk about it. They did not talk about it. And all my
Talk to that.
and all my uncles were all, whether they were Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they all served. And to get a word out of them edgewise, They wouldn't talk about it.
Mm.
'Cause,
No.
I guess depending on the horrors that they witnessed and the decimation of the populations that
Right.
they were
Yeah.
sent to.
Up to that point in history.
Now I
everything's
have
Yeah.
for a war.
cancer and I have Parkinson. That affected the left side of my body.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
she's a trooper. She's been
Most
through a lot.
definitely. To make it to 95.
But I told
Yeah.
you he's been very, very good to me. Very good. I
see that.
thank him every day to be alive.
One of her biggest regrets is going back. How many years ago you had to stop driving?
Yeah, about 9, 10 years
Yeah.
ago, I had to give up driving. But you lose your independence when you do.
But let me
You
tell
have
you.
to depend on everybody to do
But let
things
me
for
tell you,
you.
all the other drivers on the road
Mhm.
were very happy she stopped driving.
It was the same thing with my father.
Yeah, very, very happy.
No,
He had to give it up at
I
85,
miss
86.
driving and I don't like depending on others. But I have no choice. I have to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's life. What can we
Yep.
do? Right?
And how have things for you been here at Amber Court?
Pardon?
How have things been here for you at Amber Court
All right.
since coming?
Really, no problem.
Okay.
Although some of the aides I don't care for. They're not here to work. Really.
Fair enough.
You know, she has to learn to speak her mind.
Yes.
You have to learn how to speak your mind, what you feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
Do that already.
I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't saying nothing.
there's
I
no
know.
place like home and family.
Yes.
I agree. I agree.
Really. Yeah. I mean, it could be better. The only reason why I'm here,
Mhm.
when I came back, when my husband passed away,
Mhm.
I sold my home in '89 and moved to Florida. I lived in Boca Raton, right across from the ocean. I had a lovely condominium.
Mm.
I was there for 11 years.
Mm.
Then I came back from Florida, and
Been living up here ever since.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm up here now. Marielle was only 6 years old. 24 years.
Yep.
You know, yeah. But I miss Florida. You can't beat it in the wintertime.
Not at all. Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No. But it's good to be back with the family. You know, so then anyway, my kid, had an apartment in my son's home when I came back from Florida. And he was working, my daughter was working. They'd come home from work and they'd say, Mom, what'd you do today? Nothing, I watched television all day because all my friends had passed away before. And they said, no, Mom, for you it's not good watching television.
All day, right.
You've got to keep your mind fresh.
Sharp.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, that's what I did. I said, well, what am I going to do? You know. And one day when driving, I says, oh boy, I can't drive anymore. I realized I was too far to the right, moved to the left, too far to the left, went home and said to my son, I don't think I'm going to drive anymore. He says, why, Mom? And I told him what happened. He says, you're not going to drive. He sold my car right away.
Yeah.
And I said, now, why did you do that? He says, because knowing you, you'd get behind the wheel of the car when you had a good day.
That's exactly right. She would have.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yep.
They came out and they found this place here, Amber Court, assisted living. When I moved, I'm not happy about living in one room, though.
Oh, of course.
You know, it's very difficult to get used to it.
Yeah.
Go from an entire house to
Yeah, but she has the social aspect here,
right. That is the
which at
trade-off.
home is lacking. And everybody works, everybody's busy. So,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'd much rather have be at home,
yeah.
be honest with you.
Can I ask you something off topic? Were you ever in radio?
No.
You have this voice and this look that I see you as an anchor man.
Do you really?
Yeah. And
Well,
I'm
maybe
watching
I'll go back to school.
Your movements and everything, and I'm like, you got this voice. Like,
He was a
like
principal
John Stossel or
of an
all these
elementary
guys,
school.
Bill Butel, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's something quality about you.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
You know, so I
It's-
just had
it's-
the action. I'm sorry.
It's the leadership from being a principal.
Yeah, that's no doubt a big part of it.
Most
You know,
definitely.
you're formed by your environment as well as your heredity and all of that. So, yeah, it was
Yeah, when my
interesting.
husband left the Navy, he went to work for Grumman Aircraft
Mm,
as a flight inspector.
I love that.
When he retired for Grumman, where did he go after that, John? I forgot.
That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Oh.
worked for Hazeltine prior to Grumman,
Yeah.
and
Because and then I went to work for Grumman also.
she was the paymaster.
Oh wow.
One of 3 paymasters. I took care of 3 plants, 6, 7, and 8. I took care of their payroll, traveling expenses, find out who owed the company and do we owe them.
Mm.
Yeah.
You can't put anything over on her when it comes to numbers and money. Don't even try. Don't make any attempts whatsoever.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then when they started to lose contracts with the Navy, I went to work for the handicapped and retarded.
Mm.
I was hired for
HRC.
1 day. But after that 1 day, a friend of mine was in charge of entertainment there
Mhm.
to raise money for the association.
Mhm.
She said to me, I need you for 1 day. I said, all right. I worked as a cashier for 1 day in their cafeteria.
Yeah.
I was called to the main office that same day, and the woman looked at me and she says, I need full time. I says, I don't want to work full time. She says, yes, the man that was watching you is a psychiatrist. And he said he had never seen anyone handle handicapped and retarded children as well as you did. Did you have background for it? I says, none whatsoever.
Except raising the 3 of us.
I had a feeling that was coming.
And that's where I retired from at the age of 62.
God bless.
Yep.
Yeah, she had a lot on the ball. Still has a lot on the ball. In fact, when she worked for Grumman, her initial job wasn't paymaster, which is a big responsibility. I'm not sure how many employees they had, but it was the biggest employer in Suffolk County. In fact, Long Island.
Oh,
Grumman was at that time.
they did. They hired everyone from Suffolk
Yeah.
County.
And
Grumman
then after
Aircraft.
shortly being there, they
It's
asked
a
her to
great
become paymaster.
company to work for, though.
Yeah.
The best there was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, not to be redundant, but they were the biggest employer on Long Island at that time, back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my husband, for every flight inspector, for every pilot who took a plane up for a test run,
Yeah.
always looked at a sheet with my husband's signature on it, and he'd say to me, I'll be back. And I'll say to him, God will bring you back. Your husband will. Your husband is a fanatic when it comes to finding things with a plane. He was. He wouldn't sign anything unless it was 100% perfect to bring that pilot back.
And that was the F-14
Yeah.
at the time. That was the F-14. Now we're up to the F-15. I think in I'm trying to think the Top Gun. I think they were flying F-14s in that, possibly.
The original.
In the original one. In the later one, I think they were flying F-15s.
Sure, they were taking them up for test runs,
right.
John. Out in Calverton. That's where we both worked, my husband and I.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Loved it.
An inspiring story and a history lesson as well. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well,
Okay. Anything further? Good.
Not for recording, but I did want to ask something after.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Then I would say, since John is the only one here, would you like to leave a message for your other children and grandchildren?
I just love them. They're good. Be smart in school, like your Uncle John and your Aunt Linda and your Uncle Eugene. 3 great, intelligent children I've had. And I hope my grandchildren will be the same. Good kids. And believe me, my 3 never gave me a day of trouble. Never.
That she witnessed.
Maybe things I didn't know, but I never had to worry about them.
That's beautiful.
I always knew where they were going, who they were with,
Mm-hmm.
and what time they had to be home, but that was it.
That's beautiful.
Never gave me a problem.
Amen.
By the
Yeah.
way, it's great that the 3 of you do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really a
You have
nice-
3
nice
great
thing to do.
guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Pleasure to know
Yeah.
the
It's our
3 of
first
you.
time really
Is it,
putting this
Arthur?
together.
Yes, it? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We're hoping it can become
So
something.
now the 3 of you, Alonzo and Chris, the 3 of you just kind of grouped together to do this?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
it's Chris's.
Chris?
my invention,
Oh,
so to
good.
speak.
And what is your, may I ask off record, what is your, you just have a passion for it?
There's a few things, honestly.
Amber Court.
Absolutely.
There's
Positive.
positive, John.
Yep.
Amber Court, living here in Amber Court, one thing I find is very wrong. Nobody helps each other because they have the job to do. But a lot of them I feel we're all here to help each other. Each one is given a list every morning with names on it. They're an aide. Now, an example, my aide has my name on her list. Okay? But if she's busy and there's another aide just standing around doing nothing, I cannot call that aide. She'll look at me and she'll say, I can't help you. Call your own aide. Your name's not on my list. I think that's very, very wrong. Everybody should help each other when they have the time. I don't say drop your patient to help me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But learn to help each other. This is one big wrong here at Amber Court. You cannot help somebody else if your name is not on their list. And they'll tell you they'll get into trouble if they do. Very bad. That is it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna.
Okay.
I love
been
my
out-
3 kids.
Yep. Since I was born in 1949, which seemed like just a month ago, she's always been there for me. She sold her life policy. I was going to become, my dad loved mechanics. As we said before, he was a flight inspector for the F-14. And we were going to start basically a gas station, repair shop. And my mother said, well, okay, but go to college first. So she sold her life policy at the time to send me to college. And that changed my whole life. And basically, you don't need college, but the one benefit we had from that was that just what the 5 of us are doing now, talking. You meet different people, different perspectives, different places from the state or the country, and they all open up your mind. And that really was the key. And ever since then, she's always there for us.
Education is very, very important. It's the only way you get ahead a little
Yeah.
bit if you're educated.
Yep. And went out to
Right.
California. My daughter was giving birth, and I just said, you know what? I flew home last night. I'll be here for a week. Fly back to California to help my daughter out. But I had to be here for her 95th. Love you.
Love you too, John. Love my 3 kids. They're really great kids. Yep.